Here are the top stories for today, the 20th of June 2022. Incoming Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is pushing for more skilled learners in the country. Face-to-face classes are now allowed in areas under alerts level 1 and 2. More Tinang farmers are set to receive land titles. And let us learn more about Ilocano's secret to long life. Our top story for today, incoming Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is pushing for more skilled learners in the country. Duterte, who earlier accepted the offer to become Education Secretary under the incoming administration of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., said the country is in need of a future generation of patriotic Filipinos that advocate peace and discipline in their respective communities. She also emphasized the importance of families in rearing children, noting that society is currently facing challenges such as the winding cycle of poverty, trauma of broken families, lifelong baggage because of irresponsible and bad parenting, abandonment issues due to an absentee parent, anguish of gender confusion and discrimination, destruction brought about by drugs, lure of easy money in criminality, cases of HIV and other sexually transmitted diseases, failure to identify and speak up against different kinds of abuses, life-altering effects of teenage pregnancy, detrimental effects of illiteracy, emotional injury of bullying, unstable mental wellness, recruitment to support terrorism, and misinformation on the internet. Duterte aims to address these issues as Vice President and Secretary of the Department of Education, or DepEd. Malacanang, meanwhile, urges Filipinos to unite and rally behind newly elected leaders. In a statement, Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Communications Secretary Martin Andanar thanked Filipinos for the continued support and trust giving to outgoing Davao City Mayor and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. He urges Filipinos to stand behind Vice President-elect Duterte Carpio and all other newly elected leaders as they embark on the responsibilities and challenges of their offices and fulfill their mandates in delivering genuine change to our beloved country. Duterte emerged as winner of the May 9 elections with over 31 million votes, or almost 62% of the total votes cast in the vice presidential race. The celebration of Father's Day yesterday became more memorable for President Rodrigo Duterte and her daughter, Sara Duterte. During the inauguration ceremony of incoming Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, the massive crowd erupted in cheers when she tightly embraced her father, in contrast with reports that they are not on good terms. The younger Duterte first hugged her mother, Elizabeth Zimmerman, before doing the same to the president, following the ceremony presided by Supreme Court Associate Justice Ramon Paul Hernando. The incoming Vice President greeted all the fathers, especially those who make sure that another person is given the best of everything. Lawmakers sent warm congratulatory messages to Vice President-elect Sara Duterte on her inauguration as the country's 15th Vice President. Later, Representative Martin Romualdez said Duterte's victory is the triumph of the more than 31 million Filipinos who shared their message of unity for the country and their aspiration for a better life for Filipinos. Albay Representative Joey Salceda congratulated Duterte, noting the largest number of votes since the late President Ramon Magsaysay. Salceda said she can count on him again and always for advice, support, and of course, friendship. Meanwhile, the Education Department called on stakeholders including teachers, non-teaching personnel, field officials, parents, and partners to unite and collaborate anew under the leadership of the new Vice President for the benefit of the Filipino children. In a statement, the department said outgoing Secretary Leonor Briones and her team are eager to assist Duterte in ensuring a smooth transition of priority education programs and policies. The inauguration of President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. may be held at the Philippine Arena in Bulacan as suggested by the Philippine National Police or PNP. PNP Director for Operations Major General Valeriano De Leon said the Philippine Arena is one of the ideal areas as large LED televisions can be set up outside to allow more supporters to witness the event. Aside from the Philippine Arena, De Leon said another area where they could set up a viewing area for live streaming of the inauguration would be in the Philippine Sports Center in Pasig City, which could accommodate up to 40,000 people. He said they will also push for the use of the North Luzon Express Terminal, also in Bulacan, and the Mall of Asia in Pasay City. De Leon said they are now coordinating with the camp of Marcos on their proposal. Meanwhile, final security preparation had been laid down and finalized to ensure success, zero casualty, and any untoward incident during the inauguration on June 30. At least 6,000 police officers will be deployed for Marcos's inauguration. The economic team of incoming President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. sees room for improvement amid challenges brought about by the pandemic and the oil crisis. The details from Marita Moahe.
The new administration will be taking off from sound economic fundamentals. This is assured by incoming economic managers led by outgoing Bangko Sentral Governor and incoming Finance Chief Benjamin Diokno. In a briefer gathered by President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. from his designated economic team, the incoming administration will be facing multiple challenges. But strong fundamentals and bright macroeconomic prospects provide room for optimism. Among the challenges that the country is facing include the government's COVID-19 exit strategy, soaring oil prices, accelerating inflation rate, effects of the war in Ukraine, and a looming worldwide food crisis. However, Diokno says the Philippine economy is already outperforming neighbors, growing by 8.3% in the first quarter of 2022, exceeding Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, and Thailand. He also said that while massive spending was necessary as part of government's pandemic response, he is confident that debt will go down to 60.4% in 2024, 2 years into the Marcos administration. Diokno earlier said Marcos and his economic team intend to reduce poverty to single digit by the end of Marcos' term. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Moahe.
Local pump prices are set to increase again tomorrow, with diesel having the biggest hike among petroleum products. Starting tomorrow, sea oil and clean fuel will increase the price of diesel at 3 pesos and 10 centavos per liter and gasoline by 80 centavos per liter. Sea oil also announced that kerosene price will go up by 1 peso and 70 centavos per liter. Still ahead, the Philippines succeeds in fully vaccinating 70 million Filipinos before the end of President Duterte's term. And a Filipino lawyer dies after being shot in the head while in the United States. We'll be back after a quick break. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Pakiramdam ay hindi maganda, sabihin
A lawmaker has proposed to the incoming administration of President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to put up a National Strategic Petroleum Reserve or SPR to help with the continuous increase in oil prices. Camarines Sur Representative Luis Raymond Villafuerte said a state-run storage facility would bring an additional fuel inventory that could help soften the effects of future price surges. He noted that this has been a long-conceived plan of the government that has stalled at the Department of Energy. Villafuerte said the SPR plan should be put in motion in preparation for events that could drive fuel prices to surge beyond the reach of ordinary Filipinos. The government fulfilled its goal of vaccinating 70 million Filipinos against COVID-19 by the end of President Rodrigo Duterte's term within 15 months after the National Vaccination Program was launched. The National Vaccination Operations Center reports that 77% of the target population had finished their primary series as of June 17. The second dose is currently available to the elderly, medical professionals, and immunocompromised persons. In a statement, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer, said that this success is a statement of the government's commitment to protect Filipinos from the deadly effects of COVID-19. Galvez thanked all the healthcare workers, volunteers, and everyone who made the vaccination program successful. Galvez also urged the public to get booster shots as soon as they can. Face-to-face classes are now allowed in areas under Alert Level 1 and 2. DepEd Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan said they already assessed the school's readiness to implement in-person classes. Malaluan earlier announced that about 38,000 schools are all set for in-person classes after the opening of the school year 2022 to 2023 in August.
Tinatansya natin na dapat ay lahat ng mga paaralan ay may kahandaan na magbukas ng face-to-face classes. Pero yung actual na magbubukas ay nakabatay pa rin yan doon sa magiging alert levels ng COVID at that time. But based on the most recent guidelines na binigay sa atin ng ating counterparts sa DOH ay sa levels 1 and 2 kagaya ngayon ay pwede ang face-to-face classes.
A Filipino lawyer who was hit in a shooting incident in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, succumbed to his injuries and died this morning, Manila time. 36-year-old John Albert Laila was shot in the head while an Uber vehicle on the way to catch a flight to Chicago. John's mother, Leah, who was with him, suffered slight injuries from glass fragments. His sister, Althea, announced his death on Twitter. El Mercato, the Philippines Consul General in New York, said they are in touch with authorities in Philadelphia. Cato reminded Filipinos in the United States to stay vigilant as hate crimes against Asians are getting more frequent. Laila was a graduate of Makati Science High School, University of the Philippines Diliman de la Salle University, and Central European University in Budapest, Hungary. He passed the bar in 2015 and worked for Senators Laila de Lima and Mar Rojas. A lawmaker has urged the incoming Marcos administration to ask Norway to develop the West Philippine Sea as a source of clean and renewable offshore wind energy. Makati City Representative Luis Campos Jr. said offshore wind farms in the West Philippine Sea would be consistent with long-term plans to develop the area as the country's energy hub. Campos was responding to Norwegian Ambassador Jorn Jansen's pledge that would help develop the Philippines' renewable energy sources. Campos said the development of wind power would help supply the country's rapidly growing demand for electricity. For his part, Quezon City Representative Alfred Vargas said he is optimistic that the country can achieve long-term stability in power and energy under the incoming administration. Energy experts have warned of a looming energy crisis with the expected depletion of the Malunggay gas field in 2024. More stories from the newsroom. The Department of Agrarian Reform plans to award land titles to qualified farmers from Hacienda Tinang. And Malunggay takes the spotlight as superfood and livelihood in Laoag's Malunggay Festival. Details ahead. Stay with the PNA Newsroom. Up to 177 farmers in Hacienda Tinang in Concepcion, Tarlac will be placed in a list of those who will receive land titles from the Department of Agrarian Reform. The announcement was made as 83 farmers and land reform advocates underwent arraignment for charges of illegal assembly and malicious mischief last Friday. The group was arrested after performing bungkalan or ceremonial cultivation work in the hacienda on June 9. DAR Assistant Secretary John Lianya said the agency will give people 7 days to comment on those identified as beneficiaries. About 200 hectares have been distributed to beneficiaries through a collective certificate of land ownership award in 1995. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or CBCP, will establish ministries that will address the needs of the environment, poor, and vulnerable sectors. Kidapawan Bishop Jose Colin Bagaforo named these ministries the Good Governance Ministry or Good Governance Movement, Justice and Peace Ministry, and Ecology or Environmental Ministry. These will create programs to protect the environment, address the impact of climate change, address the needs of the poor, and push for a good government. This was among the topics discussed at the recent 5-day National Secretariat for Social Action General Assembly in General Santos City. Over 200 social action workers agreed that a huge sector of society needs health, care, and church guidance. The new battalion commander of the Philippine Army's 30th Infantry Battalion vows to prioritize going after communist rebels in Surigao del Norte and Dinagat Islands. Lieutenant Colonel Gerald Hale was installed on Friday to replace 30 IB Commander Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Charles Calianta. Major General Wilbur Mamawag, commander of the 4th Infantry Division, presided over the change of command at the unit's headquarters in Gigakit, Surigao del Norte. In a speech, Hale also promised to continue supporting local government units in the delivery of basic services in communities. Calianta, who served for 25 months, meanwhile recognized the support of communities and stakeholders in the quest for peace in the two provinces. Once considered a poor man's vegetable, Malunggay takes the center stage as Laoag's high-value commercial crop during this year's second Malunggay Festival. In a cooking competition held at the Laoag City Gymnasium, the participants made use of malunggay leaves, flowers, and fruits. City agriculturist Sheila Marie Opelac said the cooking festival aims to promote malunggay as a superfood due to its nutritional values. All 80 barangays of Laoag are currently expanding their malunggay plantations as it has become a profitable livelihood source for the community. The Department of Agriculture promotes the planting of malunggay nationwide. Through the government's various intervention programs to provide livelihood training, Malunggay leaves are now turned into noodles, cookies, pretzels, pandesal, and beauty products such as soaps, lotions, and many others. Poverty incidence in Lanao del Sur has eased in 2021, and now local officials and experts are working to figure out how to sustain the province's economy and continue putting poverty at bay. More on this from Claire Gighe.
The international non-government organization Plan International, through its Marawi Response Project or MRP, alongside the provincial government of Lanao del Sur and other development partners and humanitarian organizations, now eye for the sustainability of the economic progress of the province. This as they are highlighting the rise of the economic status of the province of Lanao del Sur, brought about by the reduction of its poverty incidence in 2021. Intending to thoroughly tackle the concern, a provincial economic forum was spearheaded to convene members of the Task Force Bangon Marawi or TFBM Subcommittee on Business and Livelihood and pitch infeasible ideas for the sustainability of the economic progress of the province, which shall then be integrated to the existing sustainability plan of the subcommittee. Plan International MRP Economic Development Leader Lauro Tito Ilagan said they are soliciting solutions to maintain the reduction of the province's poverty incidents and still move forward even when the partner donors and organizations of the province will no longer be around.
And that's why we're doing this now, because we want to share to them this particular bit of good news and try to dissect that and understand how that happened and come up with ways to make sure that, the province, has a lasting kind of economic improvement.
Ilagan stressed that Plan International has already been periodically conducting a similar initiative with other development partners and humanitarian organizations. Just in October 2021, the same convention was held, but such has not anticipated the development of the province in its economy, where it managed to lift itself from the list of top 10 poorest provinces of the country. Thus, the need for another economic forum to factor in this situation.
We hope that this will have very significant outputs that we can use and eventually present to the Task Force Bangon Marawi Subcommittee on Business and Livelihood, and this will translate eventually into a plan of action for all of us moving forward.
For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency Lanao del Sur.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Incoming Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is pushing for more skilled learners in the country. Face-to-face classes are now allowed in areas under alerts level 1 and 2. More Tinang farmers are set to receive land titles. And let us learn more about Ilocano's secret to long life. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on PTV4. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.